You might be asking yourself, what are we going to do today? Same thing we do every day. Try to take over the world one fiber at a time. Evidently, I was watching too many cartoons here recently. But besides all that, I've been doing some thinking. Got a bunch of parts out here on the floor. You make out a trunk pan, inner tail panel, a couple frame rails, and I got the whole car body back there. This is all going to get put together and slammed back inside there. But what I've been playing with in my mind are things that I want to share with you, because sometimes I just get on the autopilot and start putting this together. Now, just before you slap all this stuff in here, as you can tell, or if you've been following this whole adventure, my car's sitting up on jack stands. There isn't a body jig, frame table, or anything special as for what you can see to ensure that we've got this thing all in alignment. Well, it doesn't mean you can't be successful or great or get something or get a good results when it's done. But there's a few steps you want to put in mind or think about prior to just start hacking this thing apart. Because you can also tell, I got new metal with old metal. That's part of the process. Don't go ahead and rip the whole thing 100% apart, because then you're stabbing in the dark. I'm not saying you couldn't get it put back together, but it definitely makes things a little more complicated. So let's just start with, all right, we know that we've got the firewall fixed, main floor pan is done, we've got the rocker panels in, we're going to work our way to the back. But before we do any more cutting, let me show you a few things you want to keep in mind. All right, now up to this point, rocker panel, floor pan in, all square, happy with the location. Now what we're going to need to do though is we've talked about our virtual floor, datum line, getting this car body leveled up to our shop floor. That way we've always got a consistent level plane to measure from. Even if our garage floor isn't level, it doesn't matter. We're going to use like our long bubble level, shim it up. We always have points of reference to check that we're all on the same plane. We're going to basically do what you measure on the left side, you should measure on the right side. This car is pretty well mirrored left and right, so it makes it almost foolproof in that situation. So I can assure you, on first gen F bodies, this works. Can't say it works for every car out there because I haven't built all the rest of the cars. I just know these ones pretty well. So that being said, we need to define the center line of the car. I've already marked the firewall, and I've marked the back here on the main floor pan. And if you're really observant, you'll notice that the center line of that floor pan is not in the center of that drive shaft hump. That is normal. That is okay. So your tape measures are measuring right one way and not the other. It will not be dead center of that lump in the trunk or floor pan. That way, when I go to put my trunk pan in, those lines, I've also measured the center line of the leading edge of the trunk pan. So when I bring it up to the bottom of our main floor pan, that line should line up. That tells me that I'm still going down the center line. Now the problem we're going to run into is that floor pan, yes, I may put it back in here, and my center line may be in touch, but if it's going left or right towards the rear, well, we're not staying on the center line of our imaginary floor, or I guess our virtual floor or frame jig. So we've got to use a plumb bob, and same thing. Take a long string or something and go from front to the firewall up here, all the way to the back for a center line reference. So when I put the trunk pan in, yes, I may be touching my mark up here, but I also need to shift that trunk pan side to side to line up with my center line of the entire car. So again, maybe it is quicker, or maybe you'll find it better to have a body jig. Nothing wrong with that, but I don't got no room to store one. And if you're only building one car, I can't say is it worth it or not. It might be for peace of mind. So I'm just saying this is just one technique to get the job done and get things working here. So let me show you my lines I made on all the panels. Now again, what I've done here, you look here straight down on that drive shaft lump, you'll see the little O with the line. That's our center line, but you can tell it is not centered to that bump. That is perfectly normal. That's great. Now the problem that I've run into, and I'm almost going to forget to mention, you'll see this number is 46.5. Well, that's the width of my trunk, my main floor pan from here to over here. Now you might be thinking to yourself, I'm pretty sure I told you guys from here inside this rocker panel, inside that rocker panel is 47 inches. Yep, that is correct. My main floor pan gets narrower as it comes to the back of the car. I think Louis at first generation garages showed that before. You got to kind of split the ends of the floor pan, V-shape it out, weld it back in. Because my main trunk floor over here behind me, I have measured the center line on it, same thing. So when this comes up underneath, again, not centered in our lump here, but bringing it up, that should line up with my line. But this one here is from that edge to this edge, 47 inches. That's not going to fit in there. I need about a 1/4 inch more on each side. So I'm gonna have to split my main floor pan just a little bit to get that lifted up into place. Now I've also done the same thing back here in the tail panel. I draw a line with a little circle on it. That's just my indication for center line. But the part that's important is on top up here and on the back. I've drawn all the way down the bottom of there. And my inner tail panel, same thing. There's my little center line mark. So that's how I know when I'm getting things close. As for alignment, what are the best to ensure the best fit that I can possibly get. The other thing that I've done, there's my bubble level. That's my virtual floor system, basically. I make sure that's level, a shim is needed. Then I take some points of reference off the body. I like this point here on the quarter panel on the edge of the trunk jamb. I'm gonna go from here, I'm gonna go straight down to there, and guess what? 30.5 inches, right on the car body. Did the same thing here on this side. 30.5/8, only an 1/8 inch off. Now, that's all things considered. That's the original sheet metal. There's nothing left of these frame rails. It's just crumbling away to nothing. This one's been sectioned in and repaired. So for this only to be off by an 1/8 of an inch so far, it's a great start. Now, by the time I'm done putting it back together, I'm gonna try to make those two numbers the same or within where it's at, within an 1/8 of an inch. So that to me is acceptable. This car has also been rear-ended hardcore, and you can see the tail panel pushed in here, and I even talked to the previous owner. He said he got hit, so that's not a surprise. So for that to only be off an 1/8 of an inch, that's pretty good. But I want that point of reference, because as soon as I hack all of this stuff out, this stuff's gonna move around. It's gonna bounce. It's gonna stretch. It's gonna pop out of place, so that I know when I go put this back together, I know where that was at. And even before I cut the tail panel all the way out, I'll be putting the trunk deck back on the car too. Then even before I finish welding the tail panel to everything, same thing, I'll be putting the trunk deck on the car to continuously check my gaps. The other thing I'm gonna do, haven't done it yet, we're gonna start cutting this thing apart. But I think I might assemble this first. So to assemble this, if you have a 1968 Firebird, frame rails, as stated right here, I'll even show you the dadgum sticker. It says 68-69. That's a lie. Meaning they're not direct replacements. If you have 1969, these things are fantastic. They go right in. 1968, not gonna happen. 67's a little different. Now keep this in mind. Staggered shocks. You see the hole in the main trunk pan here? That hole's further forward than this one. This one's back further. They stagger the shocks in 68 and 69. 67, they're both towards the front edge. So that makes a difference in the frame rail. So technically the right side rear frame rail is probably the same, 67 and 68. Can't guarantee that, but I can tell you it's the right length. But 67 left side frame rail is 1 year only 67. So back to my story here. These are not correct because they are too long. The contour and everything is great all the way till you get just past that spring mount. You'll see a little silver dot. 68, you need to trim off this much of the frame rail and modify it. If you read the super fine print when you purchase these frame rails, if they list it, it says some modifications required. It doesn't say what. So I'm going to tell you right now, that's the modification that is required. You need to shorten the rear frame rails just by a little bit. I think it's from this edge here, the outer edge of the circle, not the inner edge, but the outer edge of the circle for the rubber mount for the spring to here is 2 7/8 of an inch, where it should be flat. So that's what I marked. That's 2 7/8. So by the time I bend this over, that silver mark will be on the 90-degree bend, because you can see the ends here are bent over. So I'll be trimming this back and bending it, making it look like that, but I need to remove that much material to make those fit right. Yeah, clear as mud, right? And of course, it was 82 degrees yesterday. Today is 45, a little bit of a breeze, and it says real feel is 31. Fantastic. I love Indiana. I shouldn't be complaining. At least it's not snowing. But anyway, you kind of get the idea. Got a lot of things that has to happen. Modify some frame rails, get that cut apart, get that out of there. And the other part of the equation, this is a convertible. I need to install those vibration dampener mounts. And the problem I have with that is I don't know where they go. I have yet to do a 68 Firebird convertible or 67. I know where 1969 go. I have some fantastic reproductions that were handmade by a viewer. Cannot thank him enough. These are fantastic. I love them. They line up good, but I don't 100% know where they go. I know they sandwich between the frame rail and the trunk pan, but I'm just saying dimensionally in the world of where it goes, I don't have a definite, because like we just discussed, someone's already patched up this side frame rail. I can't use it as a point of reference because it's rusted away. This side is still here. I'm going to try to get some measurements off this side, but that's that mount we're looking at right there. It's pretty rusted away. It should look like this. So I don't know, I'm gonna see what I can do by getting some measurements and getting those located, and then come up with a plan of getting them installed. So I'm not really sure where to start, but I'm gonna probably start working on modifying the frame rails, get those the right length, and we'll see how much time we have into this, and we'll see how much further we can get before we're out of time today. Well, let's start by modifying the frame rails. You're gonna need a def wheel, hammer, dolly, marker, something right on there basically. A couple pair of vice grips, and this pair here in particular is really handy for doing this. This is the no weld technique. There's several ways to modify these frame rails, but I like doing it where I can just bend the metal and be done with it. You don't have to do any welding, and it works really good. This is a heavier gauge steel than a factory coupe frame rail, but right on for a convertible. So, but I assure you, this is actually going to bend it just fine. We'll get into here. But first things first, gonna mark up where we're gonna cut it at. Well, let's start by just taking a look here. This is a very, I would say, the metal's just bent over. It's not super precision. This is where we're going to add the welds to our inner tail panel to tie this to the car. So essentially, I'm going to redraw this shape on the side of this metal, and then draw a line where I bend it back over. So by the time I'm done cutting all this out of the way and bending the metal over, it'll look very similar to this. So we got to keep in mind, obviously this one bends to the outside, and these two bend to the inside of the frame rail. So, like discussed earlier, from the outer edge of this here, straight back 2 7/8 is where that metal, the new flat, needs to be. So if I put like a straight edge here, then measure from here to here, 2 7/8. That's how much needs to come off the back that it's worked really good. So with that being said, we'll just go ahead and I use my line. I'm going to trace the same angle that we have here. And then we're going to basically draw out that shape in preparation for cutting. All right, and now I'm going to mark this out. And I can't believe I just said that. Dyslexia today. This one needs to be bent in, and then I'll do the same thing here for the bottom. See it now, but then we'll do the same thing here for the side. And just kind of eyeball the shape. This is precision. I'm saying all right out on this. Just because I really didn't get the camera in real good, but you get the idea. This one gets bent inwards. That one gets bent inwards. We're going to cut the silver line out. Cut the silver off. Then I'll have a tab that you can see will look like this, and we'll literally just bend it in. Now, you can make a tape template of this if you wanted to, but again, you won't see these two tabs because they bend on the inside. The only tab you'll see is one here you bend on the outside, and even then, they're not super precision from when they're stamped out. There's actually a little bit of a jog forward, about 1/8 of an inch, and cut that thing off kind of like it is here currently. It's got a little jog forward. Actually, this side's more pronounced. Let me show you here. Where that tab is bent, and you come straight across. So I just got to cut part of the horizontal face off, follow my line, cut it. Then we'll make the 3 bends, and then we're done.
Them boys that said he couldn't do it stood there speechless, couldn't even say a word. When they saw how good his restoration.
Now you can see that it is all cut out. Again, that's why I make the notes which way is which, because I got no more reference. I got that all cut like it needs to be. Now I'll just bend it. I'll get the pliers all set up to show you how that works out. And it's actually a pretty quick procedure. I'm going to tell you to do the one that bends out, to get it out of your way first. Seems to work pretty good. That's where these pliers are going to come in handy. It'll make like almost like a nice metal break here on the frame rail. And even though it's pretty heavy gauge, it bends pretty easily. Check this out here. just like that. I've got me a nice 90-degree bend in that panel there. I'll bend these two into place. Now, this one is smaller, so you really can't get it with the big wide ones, but you can take 2 pair of vice grips like so. Kind of close where you want it to be. Check this out. There we go. Now this isn't quite at a 90-degree angle, but now we do the same thing here with my other pliers. I'll go ahead and flip this up on its end. This one we can't bend all the way because it's just not going to fit. We can get it the majority of the way there. That's exactly what I intend to do. Get it lined up on our line. All right. And we can get it bent probably about 35–40% of the way. That's what the hammer here is for. That's going to finish it off. Just like so. There we go. All nice and even on the same plane. You see how easy that worked out? Lines up pretty good. I got a flange to weld to. So at this point now, I'd say that's ready to install on the frame rail jig, and we'll get to test fitting the floor pan. Well, let's talk about trunk floor to frame rail placement or location. This is why we marked the center line, was one of the reasons. You'll see a piece of masking tape. I call that measuring tape because it has a weird radius, contour, and bumps. Try and get a tape measure to lay flat on that and get an accurate measurement, not very good. I lay this on a flat piece or flat surface, like maybe across on here, measure 19¼ to 19�3/8. I've seen 19½. This thing varies, depends on the leading edge of the trunk floor, the front corner of the frame rails. I try to take the measurement off the car and recycle it. Well, if you guys, gals, remember the previous videos, this whole front section of the frame rail was MIA, so I had no way to measure that. So I'm going to go with the average of what I've been doing and all the cars I've measured and taken apart. That puts us somewhere between 19¼ and 19�3/8. So if you were to draw a straight line up with this edge here, that's our start point. This is a little bit of an angle, but bring it straight up and go back, lay the tape on here. And where your line is, a measurement of 19¼ 19�3/8. That'd be a great place to start test fitting. Now, what we're going to do, though, this center line is vital. Drop the tape measure. You can actually use the tape measure now at this point just on the inside edge of that frame rail, not this outer lip, because this outer lip is not an accurate measurement. I've seen variations of all kinds of craziness. For me, the inside of the U shape of the frame rail is the best thing. So that vertical face of the frame rail, I'm going to hook it on that, bring it over to our center line, and it should be 17, looks like, and 1/8. And if we have this nice and centered on the frame rails, I should read the same thing over here, 17 and 1/8. So at this point, I would say I'm lined up with my masking tape measure, clamp it here. I've already marked this frame rail straight on, clamp it here, and then we'll go to the back right there and make sure we're nice and centered on it just the same. I'm going to try to get down here and show you. This is obviously the back edge of the floor pan to the frame rails. Now this is our center line mark. My circle isn't centered, but you get the idea. The permanent marker, on the other hand, is where I need it to be. So this is our center mark. So I should be able to measure from the inside face of the vertical part of the U shape of the frame rail, not these ears we just fabricated, or this flange, by the way, that needs to be modified. Look at that. It should sit beside that groove, so I'm going to have to trim that back some. This side appears to be lining up good, but total width is way too wide. This side is substantially wider, so off on a tangent, I'm going to make me a little mark you see right there. We're going to clean off almost 1/2 inch or so off of that flange. So nonetheless, tape measure here to the inside edge to our center line, and we should be able to compare side to side, and they should be the same. I've already done that. It's like 21 and some change. I'll show you here just the same. Tape measure on the inside just below the rail, so you get it in there to here. That's where our mark is at. So 21 and just a skosh over a quarter. We'll get the same thing when I poke it back this way. Hopefully I can get it to flip-flop. And of course I can't get my hand in here now. See how fun it is to hold the camera and do this? Okay, there we go. Over that side here, straight on. Okay, we're just a little further. So this distance on, this is the driver's side, is a little bit further. So technically I need to move the floor pan that way just a tiny bit. Before I get too carried away, though, I'm gonna pull it back apart and trim this off. I gotta do both sides this way. They both have a little bit too much overhang there on the floor pan. So I'm gonna cut those off, then worry about getting our final fit. You know, I almost epically failed in the goal of taking over the world today by fixing Firebirds. I almost forgot to put these in here. Able to trim this back. This side was okay, but I need to figure out where these go. And a little FYI, they have a little dimple in the frame rail about where it resides, but it's not an exact fitment. So I've been kind of tinkering with these here. I'm going to locate it by these bolt holes, not compared to the edge of the frame or anything like that, because it's just not exact. So I'm going to use like the end of the tail panel of the car to here's my distance, and from distance to the vertical face of the frame rail to get these positions. So that's what I'm working on. So I'm going to get these just kind of tack welded into place. You can see my marks. And then we'll put that floor back down for the last time here, hopefully, and see where it goes. All right, I've got this test fitted back into place. So from inside edge here to my center line is 21 and 3/8. Really close side to side. That's working out real nice. Didn't forget these things this time around. And you remember to drill the holes so I can actually get the bolts back through it whenever I go put the cocktail shakers back in. So at this point, I got a nice even gap from here to the rear of the tail panel where it's going to mount up. So I'll be able to mount that in fine. These ears are actually in the right location. I've had these tank straps be too far back. The gap here is kind of crappy, and the tail panel, inner tail panel won't fit. So I think at this point now we are ready to commit to put this thing all the way together, put all the screws in it, and weld it together. All right, so with that being said, welding that together, I've got a video. I'll put a link in here for you if you guys want, gals want to check that out. But I'm gonna work on this for the next couple hours, welding that together. So it's gonna wrap us up for this video. But I think the next go around, yes, I know the majority of the trunk floor is already missing out of this car when I acquired it, but we're gonna finish ripping that out and getting what needs to be removed just enough to get that put back in. Now, here's the thing I've been kind of pondering upon in my mind was frame rail jig. I was fortunate enough to build one off of a good car. It's super handy. I've got these measurements here. Mike at Lake and Lodge went through a lot of trouble to measure his car before he cut it apart. I use that as a reference all of the time. So I guess where I'm going with this, do you need a frame rail jig to assemble these cars? Man, I always say, preach, don't do it. But in this case, it makes it a whole heck of a lot easier because these frame rails come a little twisted. The trunk floor, a little twisted. It can be done. I did the Transmerado here, the old first car I did here in the garage. I did it without a frame rail jig, but I had hours upon hours in it to get it straightened out. So it can be done. Just plan to spend a lot of time, and you may find that you need to weld some bracing between the frame rails to keep them from wanting to twist. If you try to just lay it on your garage floor, you're going to fight. I guess my buddy Louie, he's able to do it, so I know it's happened. He has some videos. You might go check out First Generation Garage. If I can figure out how to put a link in here, I will. He's done it a few times without a frame rail jig, so he may be able to answer some more questions or a little more experience in that world. I started doing it this way because it cuts the time in like a half or a quarter. So anyway, I'll work on welding this all together. We'll grab the camera, get back here, start hacking that thing apart in preparation to put this in, and hope to see you all then.
Couldn't do it, stood there speechless, couldn't even say a word. When they saw how good his restorations looked and thought about the trouble they had stirred.